I'm a minute late. A minute late. I am so sorry. Guys, everybody. Let's drop that. Shit, hold on. I just dropped something on the floor. Oh no. I'm back. Hey. I hope everyone's having a lovely. Hey, Kitty. Hope so. Everybody's having a lovely weekend. Hey, Freeside. Hey, State of Disorder. Hey, Ted. I lost my phone for a day. Well, today. And now I have my phone. And I have missed a lot of, I have missed some stuff. Oh, ghosts, myths, and legends of the Queen Mary. Hey, Vicky. There's Lips. Hi, Lips. Hey, Ted. This is going to be a good one. I thought this might take a two-parter. All right. But I don't think we're going to need two parts. I think I can plow through this and give you every bit of the information because I've told y'all, please, oh, Casey, this is the best, right? I hope you've watched the documentary on Netflix because that documentary, it was the trial at the beginning, right? That was the first, hey, cat, my love from upstairs. That was the documentary covering the trial. And then they, at the end of that, okay, at the end of that, they put the second documentary, which was 8 years later, that when Michael Peterson's charges were hey, mid mama, when AJR, when Michael Peterson's charges were overturned because of a witness for the prosecution and how he effed up everything. We'll get it. It's such, oh my God, Ted Thompson. It's like I lost my arms. I think we could plow through this. I really do. I say this a million times. It's so hard to go through all of this information. I mean, there are 13 episodes. He is JR. He is free as a bird. Free as a bird. It's hard to do these if you have a whole lot of information. And I have to try to figure out the important part, but kind of it's all important, you know. So I thought we might needed two, maybe two. I think we can plow through it. Y'all know me. I'll forget half of it anyway, so that's what it is. If you're new here, welcome. I am Shannon, and we discuss cases that are 20 years or older or conspiracies that we've added that to the lineup. That's a pretty good one. You're not familiar with this? Oh, Ted's. Get you a blanket, wrap up, lay back, and let me tell you about this. So we've got cases that are more than 20 years old, usually. I think I've done a few that weren't, but you know, we do conspiracies. And we have, you know, specific conspiracies. The next one that we'll discuss are aliens. And hey, Panda Berry, we'll discuss aliens and pretty much, you know, did they influence ancient technology? Because basically, to this day, we don't know how they built the pyramids. We have no clue, you know? So that'll be a conspiracy. And then we do Saturday night paranormal pajama parties. I have to think of these names, guys. Come on. Where we discuss any kind of paranormal experience that you have had. I invite everybody to come up and tell their story. Let me put the, oh shit. I glued new nails on today. Please don't think that I went and got my nails done. That's not ever going to happen. But I did get, hold on, I'll show you what I did. What? Oh, what I do with it. Because y'all know I am cheap. I ain't going to get my nails did. No, not this one. Hold on. Now I've got to open a drawer. I can't with the nails. Shit. Oh, come on. There we go. I get this little, what is it called? What is it called? Oh, come on. I get them at Walmart. And it's these little, see the nails in there and the glue? Your girl is cheap. Mitten Mama, I'm telling you, that's what I live for. I live for it. I gave the hack, of saving money on Torrid. Bigger girls, our clothes have to be cut right. And Torrid is my favorite company ever, clothing-wise. I've shared with you how to cut that all in half, right? If you order from Torrid, you go to the clearance, and then if you have a store near you, you have it shipped to the store, so you don't have to pay shipping if it's not over a certain amount of money. Honeys, hey, Foss, how are you? The Greenberg cake, Ellen Greenberg. No, but let me jot that down because I'm always looking. Somebody, I wish I could remember who, suggested this case. And it's a good case because, all right, and we'll talk about this. Greenberg. I have been following this case probably since the inception, when it started, 2001. He went to trial 2003. The more you know about this case, the less you know. Mitten Mama, look, I'm telling you. She was standing in the back. Police said she was. Oh, that sounds about right, JR. That sounds about right. I don't hate to be a anti-cop, thing that isn't generally me. Hey, Deborah. But after all these cases that I have covered, I'm trying to be sweet. I'm trying to be nice. I'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to be mean about it. And let me get this link and then put it up, because you don't have to know about this case to come up. No one ever has to know. This happened in December 9th, 2001 is when Kathleen Peterson was found dead. Now, I'm going to warn you on some of this. I do have photographs of her at the crime scene. There's going to be a trigger. In fact, I put a huge trigger, picture in it, like the word trigger. So you're going to see her, okay? There's also a photograph of her head. And when I start telling you about these injuries, you're going to say, no, it's not. You're crazy, Shannon, but I'm not. But there are pictures of her at the crime scene. So before we even get this started, when this happened, okay, and the police showed up, Michael Peterson at 2:40 a.m. on a Sunday morning, okay, it was late, early Sunday morning, phoned 911 and said, my wife has fallen down the stairs. They say, is she breathing? And he says, yes. And the woman's asking him all these questions, right? While ambulances are en route. When the ambulance gets there, okay, when the first responders show up, Kathleen Peterson is not breathing and probably hasn't been breathing for a minute or two. So then the prosecution and then the defense, they both have theories on what happened. Obviously, the prosecution believes that Michael Peterson took a cylindrical weapon and beat her in the back of the head. That's what they think. The defense has got a couple of different theories. One was that she fell down 20 steps and hit her head. Hey, Halloween baby, hey, shot. And hit her head 7 distinctive times. There were 7 blows to that head. That's 2 theories, prosecution and defense. And then we have a third theory that is going to sound ridiculous, but it is an actual, thank you, Big Mama, that a big owl, the big owl came and swooped down, clawed her up, right? She grabbed her head. She's, going back in the house. For whatever reason, Kathleen Peterson chooses to try to go up a back staircase upstairs. Her husband is still out here at the pool of their home in December. And that the owl is the one that did it. And I actually had to get a picture of an owl and put it up. Now, listen, could that have happened? Anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. Anything. Let me get this damn link up. This is so even the more you know about this case, the more you go back and forth. That's true. And the reason you're going to go back and forth, and everybody does, basically, is because both of the theories of the defense and the prosecution don't make sense. They just don't make sense. So, because I'm going to get into it. Let me try to get this link up. Let me put the link in here, and then I'm going to pin it because I am very good at this. Hey, Mama Cannoli Tally, I finally got you. I finally found you. I finally found you and unblocked you. And why you were blocked, I don't know. I mean, probably I did it. Who knows? Hey, Band of Memories. All right, let me get that in there, and then I got to get this over here. Let me cut it down, and then I got to bring up this, and I've got my new nails that I just glued on, so this might take an hour or two. Talks amongst yourselves. Hey, Fairy Meadows. Yeah, this is a very good case. Hold on. I have to do this, and I'm not used to it because I have nails now. Shannon. That's me live. Okay, let me pin this comment. And we should be. Nope, I always do that. I always pin comment. Is it up there? It's up there. Okay. Y'all ready? Andrew Hondo. I love you. Andrew Hondo, you know I got your back. I got your front. I got your sides. I got it all. I got it all. Hey, y'all don't mess with Hondo. I get pissed off. And of course, I had not put any of my notes here in any kind of order because why would I prepare? That's so stupid. That is so stupid. So again, I will warn you when it's we're gonna get to the part where we're gonna look at the body at the scene. And then again, we'll go. I'm pretty sure I go straight to autopsy. The only picture of her head there's only one picture of her head. Ted Thompson, ask away. And I'm trying to pay more attention to the chat, but when I get going, honey, y'all know. All right, so this has got so many twists. Y'all are gonna love it. If you don't know about this case, you're gonna love it. So let's start. Let's load these photographs up. Let's Okay. And should we make it bigger? Let's make it bigger. There we go. Well, no, can't do that because can't see chat. Okay, this is Michael and Kathleen Peterson. Michael Peterson is an author. He wrote 3 books about his experience in Vietnam. He was there. He was combat. I don't really know. It's very graphic, Tally. It really is. That's why I'm gonna warn people, because it's a lot of. This woman bled to death. It took an hour and a half to 2 hours for her to bleed to death. It is what it is. But you have. I feel like you have to see it because, I just do. That's just me. So, okay, Michael Peterson. There he is right there. Author. He wrote a column for the Durham, the Durham newspaper. He co-wrote a couple of books. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Bree. He co-authored a couple of books. Catherine there, the lovely Catherine, she was an executive at Nortel, which was a telecommunication company in Durham, North Carolina. Very, she made a lot of good money. Hey, Sean the Brit, lick. I love Sean the Brit. Yeah, we're gonna, and this family. Okay, so Michael has 2 sons from his first marriage. And then, while he and his wife were living in Germany, where I was born, toot, they made friends with a couple in Germany. Michael Peterson's first wife was an elementary school teacher for the Air Force Base, as was a woman named Elizabeth Radcliffe. Okay, she had 2 daughters. Her husband, George, died in some kind of accident in 1983. And when that happened, Michael Peterson and his first wife they were all, the couple was close. But then when it was just her, Michael Peterson kind of stepped in as the father, even though the children were very young. He would read them stories. He would do this and that. Well, Elizabeth Radcliffe, I was born in Landstuhl, Germany. My dad was in the Air Force. I had to go to the Army hospital because the Air Force hospital was too far away. I don't know. Ask my mom. She loved to tell you. So, unfortunately, in 1985, after the couples and their children had dinner, Patricia took her sons home, which was right around the corner. It wasn't that far. And Michael went back to Elizabeth's home that night because he would read the girls' stories or what. He kind of stepped in as a father, okay? Well, after that dinner, the next morning, all right, so Michael came back home. That morning, Elizabeth's nanny, hey, real Mama T, the girl's nanny showed up. And oddly enough, Elizabeth Ratliff was dead at the base of her stairs with very similar injuries that would occur a couple of years later. We're going to hear more about that. Anyway, what ended up happening was Michael took the girls and became their guardian. Even though the girls had aunts, grandmothers, whoever, Michael Peterson took the girls and became their guardian. So Michael Peterson had 2, I think his sons might have been, at the time, let me think. If Martha and Margaret were 1 and 2, his sons were probably maybe 10 and 11, somewhere around there. So Michael and his first wife decided to separate. And the boys went with the mother, right? And the girls went with Michael. Michael moved to Durham, North Carolina. Eventually, the boys came to live with Michael. So we had 4 children. Now, at the time, Miss Kathleen here was Miss Kathleen Atwood. She was married to a man named Atwood. She had a young, very young daughter. They divorced, and Kathleen Atwater moved to a very same street that the Peterson kids lived on, right? The Petersons. So this is so convoluted. So Kathleen had one daughter. Okay. Though the Kathleen's daughter and Michael Peterson's the two girls, the Unicorn Sunday. The two girls, Martha and Margaret, became very best friends in the neighborhood. They were best friends. This introduced Michael to Kathleen. And Michael and Kathleen, a few years later, married. And they had 5 children, his 2, the other 2, and Kathleen's. What was really beautiful about this is that when they married, Caitlin, who was Kathleen's daughter, said that Kathleen pulled her aside and said, "This is our family now." Talking about the girls, the boys, man. Yeah. And they were happy. They were happy. And we'll just go through a couple of pictures of the family because they're a handsome family. There's Miss Kathleen right there. Okay, this is the home that they bought. This is a very large home. I think it's 5 bedrooms, 6 baths, pretty big house. And they all ended up moving into this home together as a family. You can't beat that, right? Here's another shot of the home. The home is going to be important in a minute. Here's another shot of the home. Now, believe it or not, I have from Zillow photographs from inside of that home. I don't have the back staircase. They didn't include that. But it's a house, it was built in 1940. It's very nice. I guess I could pull it up if y'all want to see it. I mean, it's a nice house. It is very beautiful. And it's on like 3.4 acres in the middle of Durham. It's all nice. And this is the family. Look at this beautiful family. So we've got Caitlin to the left, Caitlin. And then I think that kid of his is Clayton. Caitlin, Clayton, Kathleen, Michael, Todd, Martha, and Margaret. That's the family. Very beautiful family, very loving family. They cared a lot about each other. And then here's the fun-loving. This is at Thanksgiving, I think. And look at them. I mean, they're lovely, right? It's good. Hey, Terry. Now, when I ran across this photo, I thought, what the hell? What is going on in this photo? This is horrible. But here's what happened. Michael Peterson, in 1999, decided to run. It's a pinned. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mama T. I appreciate that. Right. But Ted Thompson, I want you to look at something. I want you to look at something. Let's go back to this group photo. And I'm going to make this really big. Margaret Ratliff would be on the far right of this photograph. Okay. Now, when she was born, the father was already dead, apparently. And Michael Peterson is the one that drove Elizabeth to the hospital when she went to have Miss Margaret right there. I'm going to blow this up. And I want you to look at it. Martha or Margaret, I can't remember which one. I think it's Margaret. Todd, Michael, and Clayton. And you tell me if there isn't a slight resemblance. And I'm going to blow it up. There it is. Huge. Huge. Look at those faces. The boys, Michael and Margaret back there. I think they look a lot alike. It is thought maybe that he is the father. Hey, Daphne, I don't know. They just look alike. So, okay. when Michael Peterson decided he was going to run for mayor of Durham, North Carolina, unfortunately, Michael told a lot of stories about his time in Vietnam and the medals that he got and the Purple Heart and the bronze this and that and blah blah blah. And it came out that Michael lied a little bit about everything that he claimed he ever did in Vietnam. Just a little bit. He was injured, but he was injured in Japan in a car wreck while he wasn't in Vietnam. So the medal story kind of, the medal story kind of ruined it for him. And that's why we have the photo that we do, which is this one right here. This is like, I'm sorry. This is like election night. I know, stolen valor. What? It ain't like we don't know about that around here. So that is that is the story. Now, Kathleen was about 46 or 47 when she died. Michael, a little bit older. Whatever. All right, let's get down to it. So yeah, that pretty much has caught you up. Okay, we're caught up. I know, Tally, it's amazing, right? But why do you do it? Why do you do it? You're going to run. But don't worry, because here's what we're going to find out real soon. Nobody in Durham, North Carolina, especially prosecutors, check anything, all right? If they have an expert that they're presenting, they don't check that person out. Don't think they do. The law, it's a lot, right? Ted, it's a lot. It's a lot that there's a lot of similarities. They call him dad. They called Martha. I'm so sorry. They called Kathleen mom. These two girls. And there's some story. Here's Kathleen on their wedding day in the home. Isn't she lovely? That's another photograph. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is not so much good. This would be the day, SDA. This would be the morning that she's found. Yeah. Trigger warning. Okay, trigger warning. Let me find the ages. So I'm going to give you the ages of the children when Kathleen died. They were pretty young. I think that Margaret, Caitlin, and Martha were in the 18 to 20 year range. That's how young they were when Kathleen died. His sons in their mid 20s. Also, let me just say this: his older son, Clayton, did go to federal prison before this accident happened because he tried to firebomb Duke University. He planted a bomb at Duke University. He serves a little federal time for that. So we're going to go into trigger warnings. I'm going to set this up for you. Michael Peterson claims that on the Saturday night, which would have been the 8th of December, he and Kathleen watched a movie. I think he might have said they had a late dinner. It was around 55 degrees. He and Kathleen had drank one bottle of wine or liquor. I never could figure out what that was. They went out to the pool, right? And sat by the pool for another couple hours, I guess, and drank some more. Catherine, around midnight, says, I have got to go in. I've got a conference call in the morning, and I have got to go to bed. She had taken a Valium at some point. Around 2 hours later is when Michael decides to go into the house. And that is when he finds her at the base of the steps. Let me explain this to you as well. And I don't mean that any of you are not smart, but some people don't know. This house was built in 1940. In 1940, and way before that, actually, you had the main staircase of a home, right? That's where family, friends, people, and then you had the back staircase. And that was usually for the maids or whatever you have you. It is not big. It's pretty steep steps, not very wide. So that is where Kathleen was found. So brace yourself. It's going to be not good. I mean, it's not that bad. Okay, this is the bottom of the stairway. If you look very closely, and I'm going to blow this up one more time. Well, these were some people. All right, when I blow this up, you're going to see her face at the bottom of the staircase, okay? This is giving you a reference, and this is also giving you the blood splatter, all of that. It's a lot. So there she is at the bottom of the back staircase. All right. Again, brace yourself. These are from the night she fell, and she is indeed in the photographs. So we have her at the bottom of the stairs. This is what Michael Peterson walked into the home and saw. Okay. She was a little lady. She wasn't very big. And then you see here the kitchen, and then you see over here on the right, there she is. Okay. All right. And we're just gonna, okay. Obviously, this is blood splatter. It's very hard to get a good photograph of blood splatter. This was probably the best one I could get. I had to blow it up so you could actually see it, but there's a lot of blood splatter here. Again, more blood splatter at the base of the stairs. And again, more blood splatter there. It's a lot. And then, okay, let me go back to the blood splatter, and let's exit this, and let's talk about this scene. So Michael said that she was breathing when he got there, when he found her. When the first responders got there very quickly afterwards, she wasn't breathing. And if y'all been here before, you know about lividity. We talked about it with Marilyn Monroe. You have lividity, and lividity is what happens to your blood when you die. Your blood sinks to the lowest. Gravity takes its course, right? And that blood's going to sink. If you die on your back, that blood's going to be in your back area. If you die on your side, you get what I'm saying, right? So when first responders got to the scene, they said that the blood that you're seeing was dry. Okay, mind you, the story that Michael told, that they had the dinner, they watched the movie, they went out by the pool. The children weren't home. Hey, Suzanne, the children weren't there. Lord Lee, I'm so glad y'all showed up. The children were not there. There are no witnesses to what happened in that house Saturday night. Not a one, except for Michael Peterson and Kathleen, and she ain't talking. So the first responders got there. Well, no rigor mortis. That's another thing here. So with lividity and rigor mortis, it's a set time. Like lividity can happen within 30 minutes to 4 hours. Okay. And then you have fixed lividity. Fixed lividity is not going to go anywhere. That is where the blood is, and it ain't going nowhere. There's another lividity that you can actually, and this happened with Marilyn Monroe. Some of her, hey, Spitfire, a lot of the lividity for Marilyn Monroe, because she died on her stomach, was fixed. It wasn't going anywhere. But the coroner could take some of the lividity and kind of move his hand around that area, and the blood would dissipate. Hey, honey bee, I'm so glad y'all are here. So she did not have fixed lividity, but it was forming on the bottom of her legs, around in there. So Did it happen within a half an hour of the death? Did it happen 4 hours and she died a lot sooner? Don't know. Have no idea. What is known is she bled to death. Okay, that's the deal. Okay. So police started going, this just doesn't look right to us. Something's not right. These are not the injuries that a woman who fell down the steps. That's what Michael Peterson thought happened. Okay, why wouldn't you? They looked at her body and they looked at the scene and they went, nah, this is not how this would look. This is not at all how this would look. And they, I think he might have been free a couple of days and then they picked his ass up. Okay. Now, keep it real. At some point, and I can't tell you at one point, a documentary was, somebody said, this is a great documentary. Let's get in on the beginning of this and let's just do a whole documentary on it. The documentary starts very soon after this death. I'm going to call it a death right now. And that's what's on Netflix. So if when you're done, when I'm done here, and when I have forgotten 95% of what I've researched, you can go to Netflix and watch it. What's interesting about the documentary, which I found today, I've caught a couple of things. So we have the defense, right? He's got about two main defense lawyers. And their theory was, one, she fell down the steps, or an intruder was in the home when she went back in. And that was their two theories. Now, mind you, we have now gone through the autopsy photograph. I'm going to show you one photograph of her head, okay? Because even the defense said, well, she has 7 very distinct cylindrical wounds on the top of her head and towards the back. It's like she just stood there and let somebody hit her in the back of the head 7 times. Very least 7 times. And Kathleen was a little spitfire. She wasn't going to let somebody beat her in the head 7 times with an object. But that is what it looked like. So she had some possible defense wounds on her hand. I wonder if there's any blood fragment leading down the stairs. Well, see, Ted, no. Whatever happened at the base of those steps. However, we have a blood splatter expert that's going to tell, oh yeah, there's 7 distinct wounds in the back of her head. We're going to run up on a blood spatter expert. Notice how I'm using this. There was blood way up the wall. Cast off blood is what they called it. You could have the cast off blood where somebody's beating you and they bring that back. They bring that weapon back. It's gonna do it's gonna be on the wall and it's gonna be very distinct. You're gonna know exactly what it was. And then if blood is aspirated, like you get it in your throat, you're breathing it, and it's another, that looks like a whole nother another thing. We have Henry Lee. If y'all don't know who Henry Lee is, this is Henry Lee shows up in every high-profile case. And oddly enough, Henry Lee, who is also a blood spatter expert, always seems to side with the defense, which is kind of weird because a scientist is supposed to follow the science and not the theory of the defense team. Henry Lee always seems to follow the defense team. I'm just saying. So, okay, she had the 7 distinct marks on her hands and maybe some arm here. There were possibly defense wounds, possibly. Now, as far as the fall down the stairs, she had no broken bones. She had no, I mean, she had like a half an inch. She would have a couple of cuts that were half an inch big, long. Where that came from, I don't know. Oh yeah, Ted, I'm telling you. This is a good one. Oh, it's very sad. Oh, it's very, very sad. So we're gonna get to the autopsy, okay? And like I said, I've got one photograph of it, of her actual head. I've got drawings after that. So if you think you're gonna be upset, okay. Now I had to include this. No, oh no broken bones, Mama T. And guess what? Not one fracture of her head. Okay, she had 7 blunt force injuries to her skull. Not one, not a skull fracture, not a brain hemorrhage, nothing. This woman bled to death. That's how she died. No fractured skull, which didn't make sense for the prosecution because they say Michael took a cylindrical object, which they later said was a blow poker, which is a gift that they had been given 15 years before by her sister. And it's, you poke it, you fire poker, but you blow in this and it does the fire. That's what they think he used. That's what they say he used. However, they have a problem. They had a problem. No fracture of the skull, no brain injury, hardly any defensive wounds. Their theory was that at some point he stunned her. However, I mean, not by a gun. Something happened and he just... No, Ted, they didn't. Nothing on Michael. His clothes and his shoes will be, his shorts and his shoes will come in. But as far as an injury on him, not a one. Not a one. So their theory is that he took this thing and he just beat her in the head, right? And that they think that he stunned her. And I don't know how, and they don't describe how he could have done that. But that at some point, she came to her senses and was like, oh, no, you ain't beat me in the head with that, whatnot. The defense, again, said she fell down the steps. Thank you, Vicky, for being a member for 24 months. However, she had no broken bones. I'm going to show you the diagram. There's that damn stupid diagram that every single autopsy has where the doctor scribbles. You can't understand a damn thing, but we'll get to that. Now, what this photograph is showing, and I have to bring this up because it's a theory. An owl. A barbed owl. Okay. A barbed owl. And barbed owls are in that area. That's their native area there. And there are some in that neighborhood. And those owls had before kind of come and swooped into like when people were jogging. Okay. I mean, they're, I don't know if they're aggressive, but so I can't even say this with a straight face, but it might have happened. Let me get a beverage. Nothing about this is funny. Don't get me wrong. This theory, though, is so ridiculous, but it might be true. Okay. The owl, what they think could have happened was that, and this was presented by a lawyer that lived in the neighborhood. He's the one who went to the defense about this damn stupid owl. Their theory is that Martha came in from outside. For whatever reason, Martha went through and went out the front door for something. We don't know what. The owl attacked her. She puts her hands up like this. So there's scratches, all right? And it's scratches. And there's some odd wounds that we'll see. They don't make any sense. Don't think it's possible to have that. Oh yeah, well, like I said, in the beginning, the defense said, "Oh, she fell down 20 steps." There just wasn't the blood. The blood splat or whatever wasn't there. They couldn't. That's when they had to like turn around and kind of think of something else. But there were microscopic owl feathers in her head, in her hair. Now, how could that have happened? When I say microscopic, we're not seeing a big, we're not seeing a feather. We're seeing microscopic. Now, if she were outside with Michael, like he claims, I guess it could have, something could have fallen. She did also have pine needles in her hair. So if we're going with Michael's timeline, okay, if we just go with Michael's timeline, he went in the house at 12, right in there. Something happened. She fell. He didn't go into the house until 2:40 in the morning, and that's when he found her. So there was debris in her hair. Could have been from coming outside and sitting with her husband. I'm sorry. Let me see, Carrie. What do you say, Carrie? What do you say, Carrie? Oh, come on, go up there. There we go. All right, sweetheart, Carrie, go to bed, honey. I love you, and I'll see y'all soon. Yeah, she did have debris. So this is a picture, and it was a wound to her ear, and that's basically what this is. There's a wound. It's kind of weird, I'm telling you, these are not going to make sense to you. Don't even. All right, here's this is a photograph of an injury inside of her eye. Okay, as we can see, there were scratches on her forehead, not deep, and there was this rather odd injury to that part of her eye. Now, as the pathologist explains, there are reasons why your skull is shaped like it is. And the skull basically protects the very, very important parts of your whole face and head. So we have this jetted out part here, right, above our eyes, and that protects our eyes. All right. And then we have, the human body's got a reason for everything. So she had a very odd injury. Now, was that the talon of a owl? Could have been. I don't know. Okay, so here's a photo. This is obviously not a photograph, but these are the 7 wounds that were in the back of her head. Only the back of her head. Now, and here they are. Again, giant lacerations. They were big. But there was no skull fracture and no brain damage. There was no bleeding of the brain and anything of that. Now I think next is the actual photograph. So you might want to brace yourself. Okay. There it is. Okay. Now you're looking at this and I'm looking at this and I'm like, God bless America. They're talon marks, right? A talon, owl has little 3 talons, and that's what they are. They're talon marks, no doubt. Could be, could be not. But these are the actual wounds. So we look at where those wounds are, the way they are. So these are, and let me go back. Okay, so the back of her head. All right, not the top of her head, the back of her head. And there it is. Oh, a tree branch, a tally was one of the probable, could have been weapons. Could have been weapons. Now, let's pretend we're at trial. Let's pretend, well, this is before trial. Michael Peterson is charged with first-degree murder of his wife. While they were investigating this, I told you earlier about Elizabeth Ratliff and how she died right after Michael Peterson was the last person to see her alive. They look a little bit alike, I think. So what the prosecution did was they found out where Elizabeth Ratliff was buried in Texas. They exhumed her body. They had a guy look at it, a pathologist. And oddly enough, Elizabeth Ratliff had very similar injuries to the back of her head. What are the odds that you're the last person to see two women alive and both of them die, bleed to death at the bottom of the stairs? Elizabeth didn't have any skull fractures either, and she didn't have any brain damage. We got that from Germany. Yeah. That's odd. That's exactly. That's a pretty slim chance that that's going to happen, but it did. It did happen. Now, the way North Carolina played this, which was kind of brilliant, I guess, but kind of shitty, they brought this evidence into court. Oh, you're okay. They brought the evidence of Elizabeth Ratliff into court. And they explained the relationship. Everything. They showed the injuries, and I'm gonna assume that they were photographs from Germany. I could be wrong. In fact, you know what? Do I know that? Let me think. I probably know that, but well, the odds of it out doing are very slim too, Dad. Welcome to this case. Welcome to this case. Now, what North Carolina did was they brought in this evidence and they showed it to the jury. They didn't say Michael Peterson killed her. No, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. They just said, pretty weird though, 17 years later, his wife does a hitter down the stairs, same as Elizabeth Ratliff. So they were allowed to bring that in to the case. I don't understand why. Right. And you know what, Mama T? I'm trying to think if I know that answer, and I might. I lose. I do this research for over a week, right? And I'm telling you, I know every bit of it, right? I know everything in here. I know it. I ain't got to look for nothing until I start talking. And then I'm like, oh. And when this is over, I'll go, oh, fuck, I forgot that was pretty big. I probably should have mentioned that. They do look alike. Now we're going to get to the nitty-gritty. All right. Now, this is on her actual autopsy. The reason I thought this was important is because you do see the review here and the cause of death. Hold on, I gotta make it bigger. Multiple blunt force impacts to the back of the head. And then over here, number 2, they attribute that to a beating. If you look down to the bottom of this document, it is checked homicide, and the date is 1/17? I don't know. It's January 2002. So rather quickly, they ruled it a homicide. And you see where it says fell down the steps, that's crossed out because that was a theory. And they said, nope, she didn't fall down those steps. She was beaten in the head with something. So let's go to the next. Okay, these are those stupid ass, and I'm going to make this big. These are these, right, Ted, they were allowed to do that, but never said that Michael killed her, but pretty much insinuated that he killed her. because they had Michael on trial for the same thing. It was, I guess was it brilliant or was it, grounds for a retrial? Well, actually, no, it wasn't grounds for a retrial, but you'll find out why we had the retrial. I know that. Oh, they're awful. Oh, I hate these things. I'm going to make this one big because you're not going to be able to read it anyway, but I'm just going to do it. So here are obviously the autopsy photo, diagram of her injuries. A lot of these injuries, you see a lot of notes here, contusions. You see little places like on her nose, the eye. They're very small wounds. Maybe a half an inch by a half an inch by a third of an inch to that. They're not huge wounds to her face, but there are a couple of odd injuries to her face. Now there was one thing fractured in her body. And I guess I could try to pronounce it. I won't. And I'm not really sure what it is. It's a cartilage in her throat, and I think it was on the left side. It was a piece of cartilage that holds the larynx and other things together. And the only way you can fracture this particular set of cartilage is by blunt trauma. There's no other way to do it. That's the only fracture in that. So again, you see the the bottom here. These injuries to the back of the head are pretty substantial. All right, that's a lot. Then we're gonna go to the whole body. Okay, again, I know you can't read this, but if you look, okay, look at the hands. We'll look at the left first, because that's the front. Not a lot of injuries on the front. Okay, some of the things that are denoted here are scars. They're not actually injuries. You have some up here at the top of the head. Again, the odd little wounds that don't make sense. And then we look over here at the back, and we got some problems over here. Now, again, I told you that there were possible defense wounds to her hands and arms. And you will see here they are very small. They are, placed, not many on the hand, but on that forearm, there's a lot. There could have been, these are all just basic injuries. I say basic, and it's horrible to say this is a woman, but also the important in this was Kathleen had stepped in blood. She had blood on the bottom of her feet. So Kathleen stepped in her own blood. At what point, we do not know. Michael Peterson ain't telling us. All right, if he did it, he ain't telling us. Okay, this is, I zoomed in on this. Dried blood on her clothes and dried blood on her face. Hold on, let me make this big again. Let's see, y'all can all see it. All right, so dried blood all her clothes, feet bottoms, dried blood over face, dried blood. Okay, here's another thing. Look at the bottom. Look at both of this. In her autopsy, she did have alcohol in her system. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, it is what? 1.07. Under the legal limit. She could have gotten a car driven. The amount of Valium in her system, you can call that diazepam. You can call that, she drank, she smoked. The amount of Valium in her system was in therapeutic range, 5 milligrams to 15, kind of in that ballpark. I'm sorry, 0.5 to 1.5, I think. All with this. She wasn't like hammered, okay? Now, if you look at the bottom here, in my opinion, the cause of death in this case was due to severe concussive injury of the brain caused by multiple blunt force impacts of the head. Blood loss from the deep scalp lacerations may have also played a role in her death. The number, severity, locations, and orientation of these injuries are inconsistent with a fall downstairs. Instead, they are indicative of multiple impacts received as a result of beating. You can't argue with that. Okay. So she wasn't so inebriated she fell down steps. The only other theory I can conclude both women tried to. We're not ever going to know that. That's the sad thing. My thing is, okay, you're young. Let's just pause for a second. Let's say you're a young couple. All right. You're in your late 20s, maybe your 30s. I don't know. And you have two boys, and your friend's daughters die. I'm sorry, I had that back. Your friend dies, and she has two daughters. And you take these children. Some say that him and Patricia were their godparents, and that in Elizabeth Ratliff's will, she left $70,000 to her daughters, I guess, for their care, which I did the math, and that's about, in 2002, that would have been about 200, the equivalent of about $200,000. He took these girls. Even when his wife took the boys, when they divorced, Michael took these girls and he raised them, and he raised them well. Don't get me wrong. Now, their aunt, which would be Elizabeth Radcliffe's sister, said that she spoke to Michael through the years and wanted to take the girls. Michael would say, you know what, look, take Martha. I'm keeping Margaret. Like, these were puppies. You can adopt Martha. I'm keeping Margaret. Okay. And then that aunt was like, well, I don't want to separate them. So nobody ever did anything. Now, also, Patricia, the first wife, contacts the aunt and tells the aunt, you better get those girls away from Michael. Listen to what I'm telling you. Get them away from him. And that was never done. He kept them. He adopted them, even though they kept their last name. So why would you do that? Why would you take on a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old? Okay. Why would you take that on? Are you just a hero, just the greatest man ever alive? You are you're just such a good man, right? Or is there a reason? Is one of them yours? Oh, I don't know. Say Margaret. And that's why Martha. Take Martha. I'm keeping Margaret. I don't know. I can't answer that. All I can tell you is this. Through this entire thing, his children, the boys and the girls, the two Martha and Margaret, stayed by his side. Caitlin, on the other hand, which would be Kathleen's daughter, also, in the beginning, was firmly behind Michael not doing this. They were too much in love. Everything was great. And then as the evidence started coming out, Caitlin started to see, I think maybe Michael killed my mom. And she moved over to the other side of the courtroom. You know how they do. Like the defendant, you have all the family and the people back. And then, she moved over to the other side of the courtroom with her aunt that didn't, anyway. So that's where we're at with this. Now, what could have caused this? What could have caused this? Oh, that's right. This man here, and I can't pronounce his last name. He can't pronounce his last name. This guy right here is in the military in North Carolina at the time, and he is a male escort. And Michael Peterson was in touch with this man who was a male escort. Yeah. So, guess what? Michael's bisexual. Yay! Now, there's some you know, did Kathleen know that Michael Peterson was bisexual? In the beginning, Michael Peterson said, yeah, she knew. Towards the middle, maybe she didn't know. And by the time that he's released 8 years later, and you can watch this in the documentary, Michael makes this thing. I wish I would have told Kathleen that I was bisexual. Right. Now, here's the good part, Ted. On this particular weekend, on December 8th, the weekend of December 8th, 2001, Kathleen, who was a pretty high executive at, got the name all right, Norson, whatever, had left her work computer at work. And on the night that all this happened, Kathleen used Michael's computer to check her email. On Michael's computer were photographs of this man and a whole lot of other ones, a lot of gay porn, a lot of back and forth with men, and this is when the prosecution says the one theory is she found out he was bisexual. They were having some money problems. We'll get into that in just 1 second. And this son of a bitch is paying for an escort. Everybody that knew her said, nah, she wasn't going to go for that. Nope. She had divorced her husband after a very short time. They were married from like 77 to about 83, somewhere like that, because he was unfaithful with women. Michael was unfaithful with men throughout the marriage. And I think he even admitted to maybe a couple of women. Oh, yeah, there's life insurance. So this is one theory, that she checked her email that night at 12 o'clock, saw what she saw. Michael, can you come in here for a minute? He came in. She busts a gut, right? And she's going to tell, and then you're going to get out of this house and these kids. And he couldn't let that happen. So he killed her. Okay, that's one theory. Another theory is this. Michael and Catherine had about $140,000 in credit card debt when she died. Now and I didn't know you could do this, but she was very high up in her company. I did not know that you could defer your salary. I didn't know that. I've never heard of that in my life. That you could defer your salary and not get a check, right? And then all at once get your money. She had about she had deferred her salary, and she was going to come into $200,000, which, by the way, Michael Peterson got. He got it. Also, that home that we love so much is so beautiful. That was in Catherine. Shit, I'm going to say Catherine because of my daughter. That home was in Kathleen's name, not Michael's. Michael's name wasn't on there nowhere. That was Kathleen's house. Make sure you know. Now, when they bought it, I think Michael had gotten a $500,000 advance on some books. He had co-written a couple of books. Was the money rolling in for Michael? I tried to find out. Not really. No. When Michael went to trial in 2003, I think his debt was about $2.4 million. He was in debt. Hence, I think probably the documentary. So when Kathleen died, there was $1.7 million life insurance. Now, another thing about this house, when they bought it, and I want to say 99. Nope, it's longer than that. They lived in this house for about 14 years. And I tried to find out Michael, what was his income, right? He wrote a column for the Durham paper. Usually the columns were like dogging the the dogging the city attorney, judges, whatever. Probably not a good move after that. And I tried to figure out who that money went to. And I've watched this documentary a couple times, and then I rewatched it again because I was thinking, like, in the documentary, do they mention where this life insurance went, right? Because Michael stayed in that house until about 2000. Well, he got convicted in 2003. The house was sold in 2004 for $600 and some thousand. So $1.7 million life insurance is going to pay that house off. Okay. Not to mention the $200,000 they went right into his pocket when she died. He got the deferment. So that paid off, this, that, and the other. Oh, what am I? All right. So this trial was okay. Here's our guy right here. This is Dwayne Deaver. Dwayne Deaver. Let me get my paper on Dwayne Deaver. He was the prosecution's blood splatter expert witness. Oh, here it is. Now, what Mr. Dwayne Deaver testified to, and rather well, he went through the blood splatter. He went through every piece of blood splatter. He got up. He did some, demonstrations. He talked about, yeah, I know, right? He talked about, this was Michael. There was the cast off up the whole side in that little stairwell. That was cast off blood. And the prosecution very heavily relied on this man. I'm going to read you some of his accomplishments. Oh, I hope I wrote this down. Okay. Now, this is some of Mr. Deaver's qualifications. He was mentored by the SBI, which I think the Southern Bureau of Investigations, blood spatter specialist David Spittle. He had worked 500 blood stain cases. He had written 200 reports and testified in 60 cases in regard to blood splatter. Yeah, that was his. He just made April. That was his qualification. In the closing arguments of this trial, the prosecutor got up and said, "You would have to call Dwayne Deaver a liar if you don't believe him, right? If you would have to think that Dwayne Deaver lied to you and everything that he said." And when the jury went out and deliberated, Dwayne Deaver's testimony is the one thing that swayed every one of them. Dwayne Deaver. Good night, Mama T. Thank you for coming and participating. I appreciate it very much. I really do. Well, what we find out later on So Michael Peterson's attorneys are filing appeal after appeal after appeal. Michael was, let me see, what is the next picture? I don't even remember what the next picture was. Okay. All right, let's go back to this. We'll just do this. All right, here's his pants. I'm going to blow this up. Now, he says, right? Michael said that he did not, or did he? Wait a minute. Let's see if I can evidence. Where is it? All right, these were the pants he was wearing. He told police that he found Kathleen at the bottom of the stairs and that he handled her body to see if she was breathing or had a pulse. What? Yeah, you handled her body. Oh, okay. Yeah. But we have blood splatter here. If you look in the crotch right here, we're on the crotch, but right, that's a little bit of blood splatter. Dwayne Deaver Platt, pretty much. Now, these are Kathleen's sweatpants that she had on. We all saw them. On the back of her sweatpants were these marks, these shoe prints. Guess you are not going to believe whose shoe prints they were. Michael Peterson. Wolf Rider. Michael Peterson's footprints were on the back of Kathleen's sweatpants. Kathleen, as we remember, was found sitting basically at the bottom of the stairs. But somehow, Michael's footprint got on the back of the damn sweatpants. Again, didn't look good. This was not looking good. So we've got the money problems. We've got the male escort. We've got the blood splatter. We've got the Michael Peterson shorts that don't show any kind of handling of a woman that's bled to death. And we also have his shoe print on the back of her pants, her sweatpants. Ain't looking good. We're not looking good here, people. Not looking good. Here's the goddamn owl. Again, I've mentioned the owl. Let me read off some of the freaking owl theory, okay? I have to do it. On Kathleen Peterson's body, I told you were microscopic owl feathers. Microscopic, okay? Now, which means we couldn't see them from the naked eye. Did that come from? It looks to me, if you're fighting a damn owl off, you're going to get some feathers in your hair. It's not going to be microscopic, and it's not going to be microscopic up under your hair. It's going to be, they're going to be feathers all over the damn place, okay? That's what I would assume. Call me crazy. So we had that. We had the weird scratch to her ear. Really don't know where that came. We have that, and I'm going to give you all of it. We have that place under her in her eye. I mean, I could go back, but that little wound that doesn't make any sense. But that also doesn't make sense because if a talon hit you right here on your eye, up under here, one talon would have had to have done that. Could it? Oh, we had an owl expert. Yeah. And again, we have lack of a skull fracture or brain hemorrhaging. So something, whatever tore that head up, okay, didn't fracture, even though blunt force trauma was the reason, or it didn't crack the skull. It didn't cause any. Lavender Sunday, did you get my text? Sorry. I hope so. It didn't, they were superficial wounds, which doesn't follow the prosecution's theory of a beating or the defense's version of fall down the steps. So, again, these were, they say, let me go here to the back. I didn't write more on the back. I've got the owl theory. Can you believe it? So while the theory is compelling, it does lack proof that an owl was involved. There was absence of any owl evidence like regular feathers or anything like that. There was no other substantial evidence of the owl in the house, such as droppings or other debris. So that house, yeah, the owl didn't come into the house, do it, and leave. All right, that didn't happen. Absence of here's some more absence of there were, let's see, um the theory doesn't explain that. All right, so there are absence of defense wounds. If an owl came through, grabbed your head to the point where it has lacerated your skull, your scalp in 7 areas, you're gonna have defensive wounds where you're holding your head up trying to get the damn owl out, right? So there were none of that. Now, there's also an important part of this I almost forgot. Kathleen died with pieces of her own hair in her hands. So, did that happen when the owl was attacking her and she held her hair and the owl ripped it and then the hair came out? You know, I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, there was no other wounds on her. The owl, according to an article in Cosmopolitan magazine, barred owls are native to that area, known to attack joggers. In 2009, forensic analysis detailed traces of wood splinters and cedar needles that were in her hair. And this is in 2009. They go back, and she's got cedar, needles in her hair, microscopic bits of feather. And then again, she was when she died, she had her hair in her own hands. An owl expert testified that the appearance of a trident with 3 limbs converging to some point at a nearby. All right, so basically, he described a talon. All right. Other theories were that possibly Michael hit her with a tree branch. The son came home. Todd, not the Unabomber. Todd came home while the ambulances were there, and some say he probably could have helped his dad if something happened in there. Again, just a theory. Just a theory. So owl experts are saying, no, not really. I don't think this could happen. I don't think this could happen, but things, there have been weirder things in the world. So that's pretty inconclusive as well. So you've got the beaten in the head by Michael. Then you have the fall down the steps. And then you have the owl. Nothing that's very concrete. That's the problem with this case. There's nothing concrete. And I'm gonna admit to you right now, I nipped a picture from Court TV. Okay, I had to do it, and I couldn't find the photograph that didn't. Or it's not a photograph; it's a illustration. I couldn't find one that didn't have all that shit. At least her face would have had scratch. Exactly. She's got that weird, that weird. There's scratches. They're very superficial scratches that are on her eye and on her face. There's that one up here in the eye, on the socket of the eye. That's a little odd, but everything else in her face is pretty superficial. Not, there's no talon marks. There's no nothing. So I'm pretty sure the next photo I'm going to whip out is going to be the one that's the one I nipped. So this was actually, I think, I think this was probably the defense. So let me make it bigger, because on this photograph, they are explaining the wounds to her hands, right? From the owl, the wounds to her face from the owl. They're saying that front little beak went right up under that eye. They are explaining the wound to that ear, the scratch, and they are explaining the elbows being scratched up by this owl. Now, if I'm looking at this, right, this is, I would say, pretty compelling evidence. However, on her hands, there are no scratches. On her forearms, there's no scratches. So to believe that Al did this would be pretty far-fetched. At least her face would have had exactly. So we have three theories on her death, and none of them make sense. We have several theories on why it was done. We don't know. There are a lot of reasons. Why am I sitting like this? Look at me. I'm just like, look at me. The theory, she found out he was engaging escorts and was bisexual, and apparently in the house a used condom was found, which some believe proved that he was caught in the act. Well, I mean, yeah. This is crazy. So this is Michael while he's been in prison. He was in prison for 8 years. They kept on, his defense kept on filing these appeals, right? And none of them really worked out. However, remember we talked about Mr. Deaver? Well, guess what? Turns out, Mr. Deaver, even though this illustrious, career being a blood stain specialist, well, we find out that, did he really do a lot of mentoring under the blood? What is that? The blood stain specialist David Spittle. Not quite. No, not quite. Did he work on 500 blood stain cases? No. Nope, not even close to that. Not even close. Had he written 200 reports? No, he wrote about 47 reports, but, had he testified in 60 cases involving blood splatter? No, he actually had only testified in 4. And Michael Peterson was the third one of those 4. So not only did the prosecution not vet this expert, not only did the defense not vet this expert, because if you've watched any trial, you know that it takes, all right, so when we're starting a trial, right, you have to agree on the people that are going to testify. This could happen at the beginning of the case. This could happen in the middle of the case. This could happen whenever that expert is needed. That expert's going to have to come in and show his credentials. The prosecution didn't ask for him, and neither did the defense. So this moron who had testified in 60 cases, 4. And Michael Peterson was the first. Let me tell you about one of the other first ones. Yeah. So there was a man. He and his friend were out doing drugs. He had the money. The friend knew the drug dealers. They ended up, getting some drugs, sitting at the end of some kind of street, did some drugs, decided it would be a good idea to start up his 4-wheel drive and drive through a field. And then he got stuck. Now, when him and the friend were walking back out, right, there was this is another case. When him and the friend walked out of the field that they had gotten the truck stuck in, they saw someone dump a rug A rug. Something wrapped up in a rug. It was a body wrapped up in the rug. They just said, you know what? I ain't seen nothing. They were high. They went on home. The next morning, oh God, what's his name? Okay. At the next morning, the man, and I can't find it right now, it's here somewhere, I'm sorry, went to get his truck. And the police were there because there was a body. And the guy says, yeah, I drove my truck and there, got it stuck, right? Well, they took that truck in, and Dwayne Deaver did some tests on that truck. And guess what he found? He found blood. But it wasn't blood. It wasn't blood. But he wrote it down as blood. And that man was convicted of murder. And he spent 17 years in prison before Mr. Deaver got busted. He spent 17 years in prison because Dwayne Deaver fudged the report, right? Number one. And yeah. So there was a hearing in 2008. And the judge, the same judge, actually, that sentenced Michael Peterson to life in prison, no chance of parole. You're not getting out, Mr. Peterson. They were going to give him a new trial. The judge said, I've got to overturn this conviction. I have to do it because we have a problem with the evidence. And we have problems with the evidence that the jury cited as the most compelling evidence of the case. So Michael Peterson left jail. Hello, everybody. I'm out. All the family was there, right? I mean, there were hearings and whatnot. And you know, Kathleen's family tried to fight that he was going to get out of jail. But at this point, they had to let him out of jail because the evidence used against him was not there was no expert. There was no expert, right? Yeah, I know. Country Girl, I've seen it 100 times, dude. I love it. I still don't know sometimes. So while Michael Peterson's out, oh, guess what? We get another documentary. When he was getting out. His family's there. You know, the kids, the grandkids. He's loving life. He lives there in a little apartment now, whatever. So they were going to do a retrial. They were going to go for a retrial. And at that point, you would have to call up all these people again after 8 years. You were going to have to reinvestigate. And let's just say this. That back staircase in that house stayed bloody for a very long time because it was evidence. I told you Henry Lee at one point came in, right, and said, this is not cast off. This is not that. All that blood is still in that back staircase. It stayed there for a very long time. So I guess because of the expense that it would have cost North Carolina, I couldn't tell you why. Michael Peterson was allowed to enter an Alford plea. Now, the Alford plea was that Michael Peterson agreed that the state of North Carolina had enough evidence to convict him of voluntary manslaughter, not first-degree murder. He agreed the state of North Carolina had enough evidence to convict him of voluntary manslaughter. And when you take an Alford plea, you agree that the state has got the evidence to convict you, but you still maintain your innocence. So it's over. It's done. He's out. He's written a couple of books about this. He's written like 2 books about it. Kathleen, whatever happened to her, and we're not ever going to know. Michael Peterson, if he did it, it's not going to be on his deathbed telling the truth. That's not going to happen. The owl, he ain't going to tell the truth either. Truth be known. I tried to get an interview with an owl. He wasn't accepting any offers. The falling down the steps, we pretty much did. That didn't happen. Yeah, that just didn't happen. So, let me just do this. Oh, what do you need to ask me, sweetheart? I'm waiting. I'm going to talk about the blow poker in a minute. The blow poker. Oh my God, that stupid blow poker. I don't even think I even put photos of the blow poker, but we'll talk about that in a second. The blow, okay, the blow poker that the prosecution was pretty sure he used, that had been a gift from Kathleen's sister. And so let's go back to there's no weapon in that home. There was not a tree branch. We saw the guys out in the front of the house looking through a wooded area for a tree branch that could have been used on her head. There was nothing in that. There was no weapon. So her sister, Kathleen's sister, said, "You know what? I sent them a blow poke one year, and that could have been because there was a 3-prong on some of those lacerations was a 3-prong type impression, I guess we could put it. Well, Michael and them couldn't find, they didn't have the damn blow poke, right? They couldn't find it. And the prosecution was like, well, of course he doesn't have it. It was the weapon, he got rid of it. Then Todd, one of the weird, or Clayton, one of the weird brothers, went out into a shed that they had. And he found the blow poker. And the blow poker had been laying there for about 10 years, basically. Covered with, dust and whatnot, had not been moved. There it was. What are the odds? What are the odds that during the trial that's found? But it was. So that, because it hadn't been touched, it was clear that had not been moved in a very long time. There was no blood on it. When they did look at it, there was no fingerprints on it. There was nothing on it. They kind of went, thank you, Halloween baby. They kind of backed off the blow poker thing. So basically, we have a murder with no weapon, with no real theory on how you can beat somebody in the back of the head with a metal blow poker and not fracture a skull or cause a brain bleed. We have a theory that went everywhere from bisexual, got caught, escort, to money, to... We're not ever going to know what happened to Catherine. Shit. Kathleen, I'm sorry. We're not going to ever know what happened to her. Her child, who sued Michael Peterson for wrongful death of her mother. And they settled on a figure that he would pay her. $25 million is what they settled on. Now, has Michael, I looked up Michael's current net worth and it says $10 million. But everything has to go to Caitlin until that $25 million is paid off. So we're talking about every book that he wrote, the 2 books that he wrote about this, you would think he didn't make a dime off of because it all went to Caitlin. I don't know. Go try to figure that out. It's hard. I mean, go look. These things, And so that's what we have here. We have a murder that might not have been a murder. We have theories that don't make sense. We have a body that doesn't make sense. We have injuries that don't make sense. And that's why if you ask people about this case, and when I said I was going to do it, right? a lot of people said, man, I go back and forth on that. I go back and forth. And I'm like, so do I. And there's a lot of reasons why people go back and forth. The documentary is one thing. People watch that documentary. It is a defense. The defense is making this documentary. So you're going to be skewed. Everything that the prosecution says, you're going to, if you're watching the video, right? Hey, you do it, 5'10". If you look at Sweet Crazy Baby, how do you look? If you look at people that have watched that documentary, they like doesn't make sense. Then you have the injury that it doesn't make sense, and then you have the Devers that there are a lot of things in this case that don't make sense, and that's why people go back and forth. Oh, I miss you too. That's why people go back and forth. Yeah, you still don't know, because if you go watch that documentary, I suggest that you do. Michael Peterson is kind of likable. I mean, he's not that great, he's a little weird, but he's likable. Okay. And then you see these children that he has raised, and they are likable. You don't see Clayton a lot, the oldest son, but the one that tried to firebomb Duke University. You don't see him a lot, but these girls, right, Martha and Margaret, are very smart. They're very they had a good life. You look at these people, right, and then you see the photographs of all the family, and you think this was a happy family. What happened? And that's why we have several theories that could very well be it. The bisexuality, the money, no weapon. Well, we have a weapon. We might have a weapon. Oh, we got an owl. Owl could have done it. Maybe the escort did it. Maybe, that's why I thought this was a really interesting case, because, he's very weird. He's very weird. But he's got some kind of is it charm? I don't even know if it's charm. He almost plays stupid, if that makes sense. He almost plays stupid. He's not stupid. He's a writer, okay? And he made some comments walking into the first day of court that were like straight out of a Harlequin romance. I've said Kathleen's name in my heart 1,000 times. She's still with me. Shut up. Shut up. Put that shit over here. Come on now. Come on. But that's the kind of stuff that he says. So I would love to know, can you play still? I can play stupid. I can play real stupid sometimes, and I ain't playing. But Halloween, did I miss your question? Did you? Yeah, because I'm at the end of my presentation. This is the case. Again, I'm telling you, go watch that thing on Netflix. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating to watch, because you are in the room. In the very first show, though, I caught this. I caught it today. Michael Peterson is taking you through. Okay, he's taking you through the house. We watched the movie in here, and then he takes you out by the pool. And he says, it was 55 degrees out that night. It was a nice night. We sat out here. We drank some more wine or whatever. The chair was like this. She went around that corner because she had a conference call on a Sunday. She had a conference call she had to go prepare for. She went around, and there are bushes, these bushes that he has now that are no longer at the house. The pool has no water in it, and nothing around. You have to go look at that. Anyway, he says, that's the last time I saw her alive. Then he says quickly, well, I mean, she was alive when she was, breathing when I saw her last. Why didn't the defense cut that out? I would have cut that out. They left it. When I heard it today, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, you said you did see her. And maybe he meant the last time they had any meaningful, whatever. We don't know that any of that happened. We have no idea if they watched a movie. We have no idea if they went out by the pool. What we do know is at 12 o'clock that night, Kathleen Peterson used Michael Peterson's computer to check her email because she left her computer at work. That's what we know. We also know there was a lot of shit in that damn computer that probably, she did not want to see, but she did. We know that, okay? We know they were in debt. We know she had deferred her salary for what, I don't know why you would do that. But anyway, she deferred her salary. They were $140,000 in debt, but the salary was going to be $200,000, which Michael Peterson got. Michael, though, no one what my don't exactly. So I just wanted to ask if you've watched Gina and the Netflix. No, but let me hold on. Y'all know I write this stuff down. Y'all think I don't, but I do. I have to write these things down. I will. What is it? I think I've seen it though. I've seen it. I've seen it on the like to watch. I haven't done it yet. I've seen a lot of good ones on there that I haven't, because y'all know I've said this before. I don't like to watch someone else's YouTube work that's covered the case. I don't like to watch them because I don't want it to influence what I'm looking up. All right. And what views that I have. I don't want to be influenced by someone else's body of work, I guess you could say. So I don't generally watch anything about it. Now, what I will do sometimes when I'm done with my research and I can't go any further and say that I can't pronounce a name or I can't pronounce a town, I will go watch somebody's video and get the pronunciation. All right, I cheat. That's what I do if I can't pronounce it. That is what I will do. In this case, of course, I did watch the documentary. I had seen it several times. And it still to this day, as perplexing as it was then, that nobody really knows what happened. And nobody's ever going to really know what happened because Michael, was offered an Alford plea and he accepted it. He went from prison, no possibility of parole, to free as a bird. The man that Deaver put in jail, his daughter was 9 years old when he went to prison for life, no parole. He missed 17 years. He missed her birthdays. He missed her graduation. He missed her college graduation. He missed her marriage, and he missed the birth of his grandchildren. He says in the documentary, he looks at her, his daughter, and doesn't know how, or but Deaver, let me tell you this, is in Texas now. And he is doing, I think, what was it, teaching? Was he teaching? Let me tell you too what Deaver's, Deaver's Deaver's had all this, he was a mentor of Mr. Spittle and other than that. Yeah. Deaver's took 2 courses on blood splatter in his whole life. Or at the point of that time. He took 2 courses on blood splatter. His major in college, zoology, the study of animals. He should have been in a fucking zoo, taking care of the monkeys or whatever. He was up on the stand talking about what an expert he was at blood splatter. I mean, and nobody vetted him. The prosecution didn't say, let me say, Dwayne Deaver, do I know you? Yes, I think we've used you on some other cases. Absolutely. And this is your resume? It's written in crayon. What does that mean? Okay, well, all right, well, it looks good to me. I mean, you've written your whole friggin' resume in crayon and whatnot. And then the defense made the fatal, the fatal decision not to vet him either. Even though these things are false, I mean, you have to fight to get an expert witness in. You got to fight to do it. And nobody looked this guy up. Nobody. I can't believe it. And then in your closing argument, say, you have to think that Dwayne Deaver lied to you. You have to think that. If that's what you have to think. And then the jurors get back there and say, you know what, that Devers, man, he really nailed that. This guy is so guilty. How does he sleep at night? That's what I would like to know. Mr. Deaver, if I find you, and I've got it in these papers somewhere, I know exactly where the hell you are somewhere. I'm going to email you or whatever, and I'm going to ask you how you sleep at night, knowing that you took a man away from his child for 17 years for bullshit. But let me tell you the good part. That whole damn blood splatter and the Bureau of Investigation they're all fucked up. They had effed up 241 cases. 241. That's the entire bureau. 247 cases. They did not do presumptive tests on a lot of things, but said they did. A lot of their tests came back not blood, but it didn't make it in the report. So this whole little wing of that bureau, basically from 1983 to 2000 and what? 4, I think? That long, 83 to 2004, repeatedly failed to provide reports that were any accuracy of their tests. They didn't do tests. They said they did, but they didn't. They didn't write the test down. No one knew. There was no report of it. And so for that long, people were going to jail. Now, I don't know why they didn't have a mass, release of all these prisoners that were convicted on these people's, evidence. I don't know, but I know 2 people got out. One of them won't guilty. Michael Peterson, I don't know. Let me see. Exactly. Well, see, plus, here's the thing. The great thing is the defense guy, Henry Lee. And again, when you watch this video, and if you watch the documentary, they say over and over, the science is what you should follow. Talking about the blood splatter, the pathology, whatever. You don't go by the theory of the prosecution, right? And you don't go by the theory of the defense. That a scientist has got to follow the science wherever it goes. It cannot be, it can't be bought, but it can be bought. Oh, it can be bought. It can't be both do, but it can. So Henry Lee, if you believe Henry Lee, and I'm not like, I just think it's odd the same people show up at these defense experts, right? Henry Lee. He did a little demonstration as well into the court, right? Splattered blood on a piece of paper, all that great stuff. They didn't believe it. They believe the other guy. Again, a scientist is supposed to follow the science, not the theory of a prosecution or defense. It always seems very funny to me how Henry Lee always seems to follow the science to the very people who are paying him. I would like to know how many cases Henry Lee has been called in to do, and he's found that the prosecution was actually probably right. I would like to know how many cases that's happened. I'm gonna bet not a lot. I'm gonna bet not a lot. So yeah, welcome to the justice system in America. The injury, the document. Okay, Halloween. I keep my head in murders. I keep my head in murders, disappearances, conspiracy theories, and paranormal. Sometimes my brain needs to just watch something that is not does not involve a murder or cover up or disappearance or conspiracy or the paranormal. It doesn't happen often, but maybe sometimes I might need to get out of the house a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. Um, so that is it. And again, nobody came up on my panel. I'm gonna have to start. Look, people, you're gonna have. I mean, Ted, I'm loving Ted. Ted participate. I love you all. You all participate. I love it. I truly love it when y'all participate. I love it. And like I said, if you want to jump up on panel, you don't have to know anything about the case. I don't care about that. Ask me a question. I mean, ask me a question. I'll answer it. Whatever. These things, Lavender Sunday, back, way back, right? I did the Black Dahlia. This was years ago. I did the Black Dahlia. And Lavender Sunday and her friend, that were spending like the weekend together. So I wanted like an open panel, right? Because there's a lot of people. If you God, don't make me bring up the Black Dahlia. There are so many suspects in the Black Dahlia. So many really good suspects. Yeah, they're really good suspects. And so, Fabulous Sunday and her friend had actually done the research, right? And they absolutely thought, that. Did you think it was the doctor? I think you thought it was the doctor. The doctor. The hell's the doctor's name? I think y'all thought it was the doctor, and then I thought it was somebody else, and then another person thought it was somebody else. We were on panel, and it was really fun. It was fun to listen to, how they got to that opinion and why they thought it was true and all that. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I was Lavender Sunday and her friend were in it, and I was so excited about that. So yeah, it's always better when you got a couple people up here that again don't have to know anything about it, but just sit up here with me and say, hey guys. So I did get through this in one day. I do not have to have a part two. So I'm going to go to StreamYards. I'm going to take part two out of the list, and I'm going to move up the alien conspiracy for next Saturday. Yeah, the doctor. I can't remember his name right now. I can see his face. George, Dr. George. Ah, damn it, Dr. George. Shit, I can't remember. It's gonna bug the hell out of me. This is not an enemy. Learning about fun. Yeah, no stress, no drama. No stress, no drama. You know, that's the way I like it. I don't like any drama. I just like that. Yeah, it's a big aliens are big right now. Oh, thank you, Mint Mom. I love it that y'all show up. I say this every week. If y'all didn't show up, I'd still be sitting here doing this to nobody. I would be covering the same thing and be talking to nobody. Honestly, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I love. I love stuff like this. And they're, like it's interesting. It's it's different. It's like Ted said, there's no stress, there's no drama. We're just gonna talk about it and it's good, How did we write that down? So again, next week, we're gonna talk about. Look, I'll put up a post about aliens if people believe in aliens. And when I say alien, I don't. You don't. The word alien. You don't have to. You don't have to believe that little green men are running around around the block. I just mean an alien. Do you think that there is something more out there that are, thank you, thank you, flies. That was in my brain. That was killing me. Hodel. Yeah, that bastard. That's the one. Flies in the coleslaw. Okay. That was gonna bug me until I got off. But now, do you believe that? Because we have every star that we see is actually a sun. We know that, right? We went to school. We know that. And around those suns, uh, has got to be, because if you believe in the big boom and all that, okay, then we're all just pieces of dirt that are just spinning around. So you would have to think, well, there's bound to be some other people, probably way smarter than us. That's my point. That's why I make it like ancient. I didn't. I'll look, SDA. I think because today we don't know how the Egyptians made those pyramids. We don't have any effing clue. If we had to build a pyramid right now with what looking around, you couldn't bring any machinery in, could you? Nope. You'd have a chisel and whatever. We don't know how they did it. No clue. There's so many things in history that we have no clue how they did, and we couldn't reproduce it now. So it's an interesting thing. Oh, that's. Oh, I appreciate that, Ted. I appreciate it. I get a little animated sometimes. I get animated. Stonehenge is another one. Absolutely. I'll go look at that, SJ, because I'd love to get tagged. Stonehenge too. I think that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. Conspiracy theory. Again, I try to. What if the government wants was doing? Do we know that they're not, Teresa? I don't know. Look, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I'm not terribly brilliant. I'm not terribly brilliant on a lot of things. All right. And there are probably people, PhDs out there that will say, what a dumb woman to think that aliens did this. Well, okay, smart person, how they build the pyramids, and then they would just walk away. So the thing that, Roswell, is Roswell real? Did a craft crash, and were there beings on it? I don't know, but isn't it fun thinking that maybe it is true? I mean, isn't that fun? That's I almost kind of hope it is. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I hope it is, I guess. I don't know. All right. So next week we're gonna have the alien conspiracy theory, aliens, and we'll talk about like the ancient technology, and then we can go all the way up to present day. This guy back here that just moved in behind me could be an alien. I say that because I've never ever seen him outside, and that's weird. I see his car gone, but I never see him. Never seen him one time. He's lived there a year. Something's up. Something's up. I don't know what. He could be an alien. I might. Hieroglyphics is another one. Yeah. And then when they found that stone, because we actually covered some of ancient Egypt, and they found the stone. Oh, it's not a hole in though, but it has the I rub in my forehead, hoping it comes to me. They found that stone, and it had like Egyptian language, it had another language, and under it had the hieroglyphics. So it was kind of a key, so we could start figuring out what the hieroglyphics meant. And that was only the last like 100 years, when you really think about it. Things are created and implemented, designed. It is. Yeah. I always say that I would like to go back in history for a day. I'm not trying to stay there for like a month, okay? Too many things could happen. I wouldn't mind going back, say when they're building one of the pyramids, right? I would just like to be there for a day, see what they got set up, what's going on here. Maybe 2 days, I don't know. and just look around. What the hell's going on here? I would like to go back to there. And then I would like to go back to like silent era in Hollywood. And I want to see those stars and I want to do that. But then I'm scared because and I'm talking like this could actually happen. So give me that for a second. Like I think about Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow died because her kidneys basically shut down because she had scarlet fever when she was a child. There was a lot of damage done to her kidneys. Nobody knew it. She died at 20, whatever. Now they could have given her, a kidney transplant. She could have gone on dialysis, whatever. She'd still be alive today. I mean, literally aspirin. Okay. They didn't have aspirin. I mean, they did back then, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to go to a time where they didn't have aspirin to bring down a fever if I get it. This just in. Panthers won 5-2. The Panthers are in the lead 2-3. Next game could be the Stanley Cup. As y'all know, and if you don't know, now you do, we are hockey fans in this house. Unfortunately, the team we pull for, the Toronto Maple Leafs, are giant disappointments and make it, into the playoffs. Oh, I don't know, about a minute and a half is how long they stay there. They crushed the hearts of every fan they've ever had because the last time they won a Stanley Cup was 1967. I wasn't born yet, and I'm old. And I was born in 68, though, but that's not the point. So now we have the Panthers and the Oilers, and now I think the Panthers are going to repeat this year, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup. We need to be easy on ourselves for not having the strength and intellect. Some things. Not everyone. Yeah, it doesn't come natural to some people. And I mean, like, Catherine, it doesn't come. It doesn't come. A lot of things. I mean, like, my son upstairs right now is weird. Catherine can absolutely attest to this. He is 22 years old. He's weird in a really good way. Okay. In a really good way. Since the time he was born, right? And we're also huge NASCAR fans here in the 681 house. And so when he was small, and I mean like a year old, right? He would take cars, and they were race cars. That is, yeah, we get it. And he would get in our bay window, and he would have races, okay? And he would have the cars. They would move. He was one, right? And he kept up with the entire race. And he did that up until he was 5 years old or whatever. Now, when he went to, when he went to high school, he got lucky enough to get this math teacher that he really liked a lot. Now, the math teacher knew nothing about NASCAR, IndyCar, anything like that. And so Vaughn kind of explained to this teacher about mathematics and how you have to, the gas mileage has to be figured out for the amount of laps, and high banking, and then you have to, include the drafting. If it's a big track, you get drafted. You don't use as much gas. And then this math teacher became completely obsessed with racing. And my son is quite quick with, mathematically, he's very like, he's very, oh my God, that kid with our parodies. Catherine, poor Catherine. Y'all, I make that girl. Catherine is 19 years old. And I know y'all probably seen some of I don't like to do drama, but listen, every once in a while, I will, to use a hockey term, drop the gloves. Okay? In hockey, when you drop the gloves, you got to fight. Okay? That's what it's called. Every once in a while, I used to drop the gloves every time I went live. Not anymore. But occasionally, I drop the gloves, and we have a little bit of drama. But if you don't know that, don't go look. But if you do know anything about my channel, you know I like to do a parody of different people in the community. Now, poor Catherine, who was going to Randolph College to study film and theater, right, has been when these productions became a little bit bigger, Catherine was my cameraman, my editor, my director. Um, she like I did it all, right? I get out, I act ignorant, she films it, and then she edits it to where I look even dumber. And so the last parody was about someone, her name's Gypsy, we'll just do that. And so on my members, we put the bloopers, okay, of the parodies. Now we're getting pretty good at this because we don't have a lot of bloopers. Yeah, props master, you're right. I've got wigs everywhere in this house. You don't know. When I go, I mean, I'm just looking around. I can pull out 2 wigs right now, and there's another one upstairs. I also have a hat upstairs. I have, we'll just look. I know one of my wigs went all the way over there the other day. Oh, we've got glasses. We've got yellow makeup. We have, let me see what this is. I don't know what that is. Let me see. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. But we're getting better at it. I did get into there dropping. Hey, I like to dad gloves. Sometimes I gotta drop them gloves. Okay, I gotta do it. I don't want to, but I gotta do it. Yeah, but so, we're really getting better. We're like streamlining this whole parody thing. And so when we were gonna put the bloopers from the last parody we did a couple weeks ago, there wasn't really a lot. I mean, we bounce around ideas, and I'll start to say something because I don't script them, right? I don't. She tries to make me do like a loose script. I don't do that. I'm just like, I just go, right? And so like I will think of something and I'll start laughing, and then we got to go back. But there wasn't really any funny bloopers. And so we're gonna, do some more on the same person because why not? And hopefully there'll be funny ones there. But I felt kind of bad that the members didn't get any bloopers. They weren't that funny. They were kind of stupid. But yeah, look for those. I don't know. I like to bring y'all any entertainment of any kind. I don't care. If I think you'll watch it, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm not trying to make loose script on the period that I'm gonna do with 6 people. I'm gonna do it with 6 people. It's gonna be. I'm still waiting there to get all my stuff in. I gotta order it. It's gonna be funny. Don't worry about it. The biggest one we've ever done is the one in the car, and I'm Molly Golightly. I'm also her friend Princess, and I'm also in the back seat as Justice for All. That was a big one. That was a big. I've never done 3 separate people before. That was a big one. You live and learn. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be 57 years old on the July 4th, right? I feel like I haven't matured any. I don't feel like I've matured at all since my teens, probably, maybe early 20s. If you act young, you stay young, right? So I act young. Some call it immature, some call it insane. I say yes, it's all those things. Oh yeah, those Tic Tacs. I was throwing them the pills at Catherine. That was fun though. That was so fun. All right, I'm gonna go. Lavender, can I call you after this? I did not. I saw a message, and then I saw Clancy, bless his heart. I didn't see him. I say, I mean, Bitten Mama, we're never going to start acting like I will never act my age. If you ever want to come here and see yeah, it's not going to happen. Don't ever come here and say, I think Shannon's going to be quite mature today. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. All right. Thank y'all seriously for coming. I appreciate it. Another one in the books. We got to make another file. We got to put another file in the file cabinet. Next week, aliens and ancient technology. That'll be fun. And then, as always, by next week, I will have a subject. We might do, hey, did we talk about this, Catherine? We did this. We'll do the alien thing, and then we'll do a paranormal the week after that. Let's do that. Let's do that. We'll do that. And then we'll, you know how we do. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for coming. Every week, y'all never let me down. Those people that can come watch the replay, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. And I will see y'all. Hopefully, I'll see you this week. I will do something. Y'all, we got plays for October. Oh, yeah. Don't tell them that. Good night, Freeside. Good night, everybody. Now, the last time I tried to shut StreamYards off a couple days ago, the entire freaking company went out of business. So hopefully this is going to end. Bitten Mama, thank you for being always a really great mod and sharing that stuff out. I appreciate it. All right. Bye, guys. See you later. Later, Tater.